डॉक्टर बाबा साहेब आंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी.
Good day friends, a warm welcome into the Chaitanya studio of Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University. And in this in previous session we discussed regarding the cyber crime, and in the same line we are continuing our discussion. So in this session we are going to discuss regarding the incident response. So first of all, what is the incident response? Incident response means once any cyber attack occurs, then how to mitigate, how to cope up, how to deal with such kind of attack, and how to respond. Because of course the cyber security professionals are trying their best to provide the secure system, but none of the system is 100% secure, because apart from the programming vulnerabilities or hardware vulnerabilities, slowly while the technological advancement is happen, then after the attackers or the hacker community can find out the zero-day exploit or new vulnerability into the existing system. So in that case, once the cyber attack is occurred, then how to mitigate and how to minimize the negative effect of the attack, and how to speedily or rapidly recover or restore the system, are going to discuss as an incident response. So first of all, preparation. Now what is the preparation? Preparation is the planning phase, and it actually to prepare the response team for the response. That means it contains, or it is like that, to prepare the response plan. And to prepare the response plan, first of all the response team or the forensic team needs to identify the effect of the attack and losses occur due to the attack. So based on that, the response team can be prepared to respond the attack. Then after the identification of attack, identification of attack, that means to identify the pattern of the attack, to identify the vulnerabilities, to identify the affected machine, to identify the affected nodes, as well as to identify the affected file systems. So all these are identification come under the identification of attack. Then after, containment of the attack. Containment in the sense we can say to make the affected part or affected network or affected nodes or affected file system into a separate system, or to segregate the affected components and isolate those components from the normal nodes or normal file system or normal data. So it is called the containment of the attack, and the main purpose of the containment is to identify the affected node and with the normal system or normal network or normal data, the response team can restore the system rapidly and in a best way. Now, then after the last best, we can say recovery and analysis. Now, the recovery means to recover the affected part, or to recover the data from the normal point, means last normal point recorded or normal behavior of the system recorded to the existing point, because during the attack period there are several possibilities in which the system affection we can say in the form of hardware, network or data or software might be infected. So, to recover all those components and then after analyze the attack or analyze the losses of the system, and to identify or to restore those devices at the default level or default state, means factory reset state, and for the data you can restore from the backup, last backup or best possible available information. So, this is the incident response. Now, the next thing, digital forensic. So, again because we are familiar or we are listening the terminology like need forensic, biometric forensic, fingerprint forensic, retina scan, etc., etc. So, these are the biological forensic. Chemical forensic also is there. The for same in a same manner, the digital forensic is also a separate branch, or we can say it's a separate area. In a digital forensic, generally what happen? In a digital forensic focuses on a digital domain, including computer forensic, network forensic or mobile forensic. So, we can categorize the digital forensic into like malware forensic, memory forensic, email forensic, smartphone forensic, disk forensic and cloud forensic. So, these are the possible categories of the digital forensic. Of course, we cannot restrict, no one can restrict in this category only, because we may derive, one can derive some another categories also. So, like malware forensic. So, what is the malware forensic? As we discussed in the previous session, malware, that means full form is like malware, malicious software. Malware means malicious software. So, we can say virus is a malware, worm is a malware, Trojan horse is a malware. So, these kind of malicious programs which could damage our normal behavior of the system can be categorized as a malware. Of course, ransomware is also a malware. So, now the malware forensic is a category in which the experts needs to perform the behavior analysis of the malware. So, first of all, they need to understand the behavior of the malware. There are several tools for the forward engineering as well as reverse engineering are there, and these tools are helpful for the malware forensic. That means such kind of tools are helpful to understand the behavior of the malware. In a simulated environment, the forensic team can perform or can check the risk analysis possible, and they can estimate the possible risk from the malware. Then after the we can say the forward engineering, that means code extraction, code extraction, that means generally what we can say, malwares are nothing but the self executable code. So they they might be in form of .exe file, they might be in form of .jar file, or they might be in form of self executable web script which automatically runs at the client machine. So to understand the malware, the forensic team needs to extract the malware code, and for that several tools are that. We can say extractor or a decompiler tool. And next is the memory forensic. So in today's world there are several digital devices are used for the storage purpose, like hard disk, USB drive means portable hard disk, or pen drive. So to identify or to recover the data, the memory forensic is the most important concept, because anyone can easily remove the files from the hard disk, but through the memory forensic it is possible to recall or to restore all those deleted files. And for that, then after you can perform the sector search or with the help of memory forensic, and there are so many tools like autopsy, EnCache. These are the tools, those are helpful for the memory forensic. Next is the email forensic. Now email forensic, that means we know what is the email, we all know what is the email. It is used for the communication, and there are so many incidents we have seen, or has even terrorist activities had been observed in which the email communication occurred between two parties. Now for example, any security agencies, those who are intercepting this communication, at that time they need to perform email forensic, and email forensic is helpful. Email forensic is helpful to identify the sender, to identify the receiver, to identify the sender location, to identify the receiver's location, and so many things. So the tools like email examiner and some another tools are also there, through which we can perform the email forensic. Next one is the smartphone forensic. As we know, we are using the smartphone during our normal or routine life, and the acceptance of mobile platform is rapidly increasing. In that scenario, there are several crimes. We can say there are several crimes in which the smartphones are used as a target, or smartphones are used to attack to launch the attack. In that case, the forensic team or the examiner response team need to perform the smartphone forensic, which includes the log monitoring, which includes the memory smartphone memory forensic. And as we know, the storage platform are different and operating systems are also different. So there are several tools available for the smartphone forensic. Again, this forensic just we have discussed regarding the memory forensic. In the memory forensic, actually the flash memory are also there, but the disk forensics is purely related with the hard disk or storage space forensic, and again the cloud forensic. So as we are familiar, the nowadays what happened, the trend is increasing to store the data on a cloud, and nowadays we can say that there are so many organizations those who are migrating their entire organizational level data on a cloud. So, in that case, because we need to examine cloud for several reasons, we need to create the instance, who had created instance, are there any backdoors on a cloud, so through which the data stealing is possible. So, all such kind of activities can be carried out under the cloud forensic. Now, these are the computer languages, and we can, as we know, these are the software development languages, or these are the programming languages through which the software development can be possible. And of course, these are the programming languages used also for the security purpose. So, as we know, first two, HTML and JavaScript. So, for any web application, HTML and JavaScript are essential. HTML for the web page development, while the JavaScript code executes at the client end, and to minimize the server round trip, JavaScript is the best option. Same thing SQL. SQL stands for the structured query language, and as we know, entire data has been stored on a database server, and database, when we are dealing with the database server, we should to deal with the SQL. The PHP dynamic web, it is used for the dynamic web application. Again, the Perl, and as well as the programming language for writing exploits like C, C++. So, these are the programming language. Perl is used to write the script, as well as, if we even we can say C is the mother of all modern programming languages, and we can say C++ is nothing but the C with the class. And as we know, even today, maximum vulnerable code like malware or detection tool for the malware or some intrusion detection prevention systems are written into the C as well as C++. Again, Python, nowadays the most popular language among the programmer community, and some of the malicious code is also written into the Python. Again, the Ruby is nothing but a complex object oriented programming system. Next, Java is also used for the better handlement of the network, or we can say the enterprise application development. And the Lisp, it's a second oldest modern day programming language. So, these are the technology, or these are the languages which have been used to write the code for the attack also, and to prevent from the attack also. Now, these are the concepts which are purely connected with the network security, or the some of the concept or some of the software where we can say these are the software available for the network security, like first one, antivirus or anti-malware. So, in that case, we all know about the antivirus. Antivirus are the software which installed on a host machine, and which can prevent the system from the virus infection. Similar kind of malware, anti-malware software, and it also performs similar kind of operation, and it also provides protection against the malware like Trojan horse, etc., etc. Next, application security. Application security, these because as we just discussed, none of the software is 100% secure. So, these are the tool, application security. So, these are the tool provide protection for the any application or any software from the attackers. Then after, behavioral analytics. Behavioral analytics are the tools, those who analyze the behavior, because as we know there are two types of detection methodology. One is the rule based detection. In the rule based detection, what happen? There are pre-configured rules, and based on the pre-configured rule, if any behavior is different, means if any behavior found different from the pre-configured rule, then it can be treated as a suspicious or malicious behavior, while misuse or rule based detection approach has certain limitations. So, another approach is anomaly detection. In anomaly detection, what happen? Based on the observation, based on the observation of large number of data or large number of traffic or large number of activity, the system is trained itself and can forecast regarding the suspicious behavior or malicious behavior as well as normal behavior. Then after DLP tools, data loss prevention tools, email security, because they provides the security in, from the spammers or from the phishing attack. Then after firewalls are the mechanism which installed in, at the entry point of the network, and it monitors each and every inbound as well as outbound traffic. Then after intrusion prevention system, that means we can say network intrusion prevention system. So, possible intrusion can be prevented in the network by using the intrusion prevention system. Then after mobile device security, that means as we discussed the rapid advancement in a mobile technology as well as mobile use, also it also attracted the attackers, and because the mobile devices are very much resource constrained, because the resources are very much poor in compared to the laptop or desktop system. So, in that scenario, the mobile device security or the tools for the mobile device security are required. Then after network segmentation or service information event management and virtual private network keeps you anonymous for the outside world, means you can carry out all the net activity anonymously. Then after web security, there are so many web security tools are there, those who can find out the possible exploit in a web. Next is the wireless security. That means several hardware system as well as software system available to secure the wireless network. Endpoint, that means the machine, endpoint of the means network, the host. There are several systems available or required to protect the host, because it prevents to find out the attackers, the host means vulnerable host or open ports. And network access control, NAC system provides the rule based access of the network. So, these are the devices or tools for the network security. Now, cyber law. Now, what is the cyber law? So, we will discuss regarding the Indian IT Act, but simply for our understanding, we can say the cyber law is nothing but it protects us from the cyber criminal. It is a legal aspect, or we can say it is a legal cover to prevent or to cover the cyber or netizen from the cyber law, cyber crime. So, these are the area in which the cyber law can protect us, like fraud, that means banking fraud, online fraud. Second, copyright, that means illegal use of the copyrighted material, then after defamation, that means to spoil the reputation, to harm the image, harassment and stalking. So online harassment is also there. Then after freedom of speech and the trade secret violation. So these are the area, possible area in which the cyber law protects the net activity. So in this session, friend, we discuss regarding the cyber area of cyber law, as well as digital forensic and tools required for the network forensic, etc. Now in next session we discuss regarding the Indian IT Act. In other words, simple, we are pronouncing cyber law India. So this is the framework which provides the legal protection against the cyber crime, and we will also discuss the sections available to protect the netizen or net activist or net user. Okay friend, thank you very much.